Anyway, thank you, Dr. Dickens, for your comments and helping us set the stage. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Before we actually start, before I introduce myself, on behalf of the entire team, we want to take a minute and thank all the people who contributed to our success throughout this year. First, can everyone give a round of applause to our talented Director of Forensics and Coach, Phil Sharp. Without him, not only would this debate not be possible, but I wouldn't be able to stand up here and tell all of you that we are the #1 ranked team in the country out of 192 teams in this country. So also on the topic of our success, there's some more people who were involved in helping us to become this successful team, because it doesn't take just one coach and a couple debaters. Other people who were volunteering assistant coaches throughout the year, dedicating countless hours of their time to help us succeed, include Matthew Hogan, who's right here. And the rest of these people couldn't be here, so we're just going to wait and then we'll clap after. Mitchell Grover, Sheris Miner, Emily Sheldon, Rob Killian, Kristen McCrae, and Zacharias Lampertok. Without these people and all the efforts that they gave us, we would not be the successful team we are, and we wouldn't be we'd be different people. Like they really help us become different and better and understand a lot more about ourselves and how we interact with the world around us. And we can't properly express our gratitude to these people. But a round of applause starts. So. That being said, again, good evening. My name is Kenneth Laverty. And I have the pleasure of accompanying you on this mystical journey into debate land as your master of ceremonies. But before we start, who am I? I'm a freshman at the university. I'm a biochemistry and molecular biology major, which doesn't make a lot of sense in terms of the debate world. But nonetheless, I've been on the team for 2 semesters, and I've had the pleasure of calling all of these people in front of you who are going to perform for you tonight as my teammates. And they're just really awesome people. I'm really excited. Yeah, really excited, probably more so than everyone else in the room, just because I like this stuff. But nonetheless, I'll still do my best throughout the evening to try and walk you guys through what's happening. Debate can be kind of a complex thing if you can just jump into it. But that being said, let's talk about the format for tonight's debate. First off, the resolution, the thing we're going to be debating for the entirety of the evening is the state of Nevada should significantly increase taxes on mining operations. Pretty straightforward. We've talked about it in brief, and Dr. Dickens helped us a lot set that stage. But nonetheless, the affirmative team will be on my right side, arguing for more taxes on the mining operations in Nevada, while the negative team will be on my left, obviously arguing the other side. Each team will be given 6 minutes to give their opening arguments, with the affirmative team getting the first opportunity to speak, followed by the negative team's first speech. After both sides have made their initial cases, the second speech will come up, what we call the member speech, responding to the arguments made by the opposing side. This will also be, or these will both be 6 minutes as well. After the fourth speech of the debate, we will have a 3-minute grand crossfire. It's cross-examination. We'll ask each other questions, but because everyone gets involved, it's grand and it's really exciting. So, grand crossfire. The debate will end with 2 5-minute speeches called rebuttals. In these speeches, each team will have the ability to give their final thoughts on the debate and give a couple reasons why they think they should win. After we hear the closing statements from both sides, the audience, you guys, will be our judges and will vote for who you think won the debate. So that being said, can the debaters come on stage? You guys ready? Okay. So Evelyn Valencia will be giving the first speech of tonight, the affirmative constructive. Evelyn, or homegirl as I call her, is a sophomore majoring in international affairs and political science with a minor in Holocaust, genocide, and peace studies. This is her 5th year debating, and I had the pleasure of competing alongside her throughout the entirety of the year as her partner. And I can tell you, while it's not necessarily visible now, Everyone has an insatiable appetite for sugar, enjoys Kool-Aid on every occasion, and is our resident twerk team member. So anytime gas pedal comes on, you know everyone's about to have a good time. So that being said, we will have Evelyn start us off.
Okay. I'd just like to thank everyone for attending the public debate. It means so much to myself and to my teammates that you guys were able to take time out of your day to come listen to us what we do best, debate. So let's begin. Stuart Udall, former Secretary of the Interior, once said, "Mining is like a search and destroy mission." Mining is seen as such a huge industry in the state of Nevada, doing both good and bad for the state, which will lead me to one of the first reasons why we have to tax them, which leads to contention 1. Mining is ridiculously undertaxed as it stands. 3 of the 5 largest mines in Nevada are foreign-owned. The largest mine in the world and the most profitable mine in the world is owned by Barrick Corporation based in Canada. This single mine has exceeded over $1 billion in profits in 2012. They paid next to nothing in taxes, paying a mere 1% on gross production value in taxes in Nevada. This means that they make so much money off public goods like minerals that in reality should belong to all of us, and they do not contribute anything back. This is a detriment to our society, as we see that we have no return on investment with these foreign companies taking advantage of our state's natural resources. According to the Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada, the General Accounting Office has expressed strong concerns about the inadequate reclamation bonding in Nevada. We determined 57 hard rock operations in 12 western states have inadequate financial assurances, amounting to about $24 million less than what was needed to fully recover estimated reclamation costs. This means that the cost for us to clean up is being underfunded, and there have been no investments to reuse that land once the minerals and the resources are gone. Nevada's share of that $24 million is over $23 million, more than 99.4% of the total of the 12 western states. And where did this money come from? From our pockets. Approximately 30 to 40% of mining in Nevada is on public lands, which belongs to the people of the United States. And 75% of Long Canyon Mine Pit area, the newest massive gold mine in Nevada, is on public land. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, the cost for cleanup of abandoned hard rock mines could run as high as $54 billion. Much of that cost could ultimately be paid by all of you guys here today. The money has to come out of somewhere, and the cost is usually felt within our education system and other public service areas. Which leads me to my second point. Contention 2, taxing helps our public services. Taxing helps provide public services, from being able to pave roads outside, to being able to provide children with early Head Start programs, and providing necessary cleanup and conservation efforts in the state of Nevada. Mining is such a huge facet to the Nevada economy, something that is indisputable and a reason why our state is dubbed the Silver State. However, with large corporations that use public land and exploit resources, there has to be some reciprocation. We see that this is a huge industry, not because being taxed, we have programs like our education systems that are being severely underfunded. We have been going to Carson City for a decade and have never seen significant funding for education. Lynn Warren, president of the Nevada State Education Association, says, "We don't believe this is a job-killing tax. Education will drive the state. Education will create jobs." Taxation is necessary to provide for the school districts. Decades of low funding in education have not helped student performance in Nevada. To look at 49th or 50th in funding and 49th or 50th in achievement, I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to see how there's a relationship between funding and outcomes, and the inputs are low and the outcomes are low. Deborah Bergstein, a professor of education finance, policy, and leadership at the University of Nevada College of Education, has said, which leads me to my last and final point. Contention 3. The environmental cost is something that we cannot take for granted. We recognize several mining concerns do occur as these actions. We as the affirmative do recognize that the good that mining has done for us. Like we wouldn't have iPhones or laptops without the rare earth minerals that go into the components to our most beloved devices. This is a hot button issue. We do not advocate that we stop mining altogether. However, we do need to see some preemptive leverage and sustainability when it comes to some environmental concerns we have. One of these concerns is pit lakes. Pit lakes occur when an open pit was dewatered during mining. These pit lakes once again contain lots of usable groundwater, but with mining has either damaged the water quality or the water has evaporated. This is a loss of water that we may not feel it now, but generations will feel it, down the road will feel it too. Sure, a common joke I might say is, the world is 70% water and you still thirsty? However, This is going to be an issue for our future generations as well. Now, we also see another environmental concern we face with mining is massive quantities of the ground is being moved over for mining, exposing us to several elements and compounds that were underground for a reason, are now exposed to the water and air. Most of the minerals can be toxic and damages our air quality, which can be a concern for people with respiratory issues. Now that's rocky. The chemical reaction that occurs when minerals oxide is known to pollute our streams, rivers, and takes over a long time for centuries and is likely irreversible. To even make it more scary, according to the US EPA, a total of 529 million pounds of toxic chemicals were dumped into Nevada's land, water, and air during 2011. Mining accounted for 98% of these releases. 7 of the 10 biggest polluters in Nevada are mines owned by transnational mining conglomerates, Barrick and Newmont, who still pay very little in taxes and do not contribute to any cleanup efforts in the end. Shocking, right? My sentiments exactly. So when we look at the overall picture, we see that mining is severely undertaxed. We see that we have issues within our own state economy, such as education and being able to build a fund to be able to fix the environment we've destroyed. So we're going to be seeing that paying 1% is nothing in order for us to be able to fix the environment, fix our education system, and in the end, fix our environment, fix our state as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Evelyn. Now we will hear from the negative side as they present their case in what we call the Leader of Opposition's constructive. Presenting this constructive is Mariah Wilkinson. Mariah is a freshman here at the university, just like I am, majoring in international affairs and minoring in economics. She enjoys making forts out of copious volumes of cereal boxes she gets from the DC store, owns 14 cats, and likes to draw cute animals with little boots in the middle of the prep room, even when we're at tournaments. She also happens to be one of the sharpest young debaters on this team, and we are all very lucky to get to hear Mariah present the negative constructive. Mariah?
All right, first of all, I'd like to thank everyone for being here today. I'm really honored to be able to compete, and so with that being said, let's get the show on the road. We stand here in negation for a few reasons, the first of that being that contention 1, increased taxes do not entail effective taxation. Our opponents provided you with many projections of potential revenues that could be earned and benefits that could be achieved through increased revenue, but what they forgot to analyze is the reality of the situation. If we look at the current tax code on mines, known as the net proceeds on minerals tax, we've had this tax as long as we have been a state, and it was capped at 5% in 1989. These mystical taxation benefits have not proven to be true. Subpoint A is that the state government is actually the problem. Increased taxation is fruitless. According to the Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada, the state lacks experiencing mining tax auditors. New positions will not be created. Let's be realistic. If Nevada took the net proceeds minerals tax seriously, we would see these positions now. Instead, we use the funding to pad our general budget. Subpoint B is that this threatens investment and our economy. Targeting specific industries just because they are successful financially is flawed. Nevada is a prospect for new business, especially because it provides freedom for new lucrative industries to enter. Consider Tesla, Apple, and Amazon. Gold prices, as demand and price increases, allows Nevada to maintain its position as the 4th largest producer of gold in the world. To maintain this competitive edge, we must keep consistent taxes. The reason that companies relocate to Nevada is because our tax code is written into our Constitution and has remained capped at 5% since 1989. This consistency is attractive to corporations. Contention 2 is that mining organizations are philanthropic. Mining organizations have contributed greatly in community-wide engagement efforts. In 2011 alone, they supported more than 600 organizations and charitable causes throughout Nevada with more than 7,000 volunteer hours and over $5 million in donations. We have a long list of examples, but we'll just name a few, such as Great Basin College, Elko Senior Citizen Center, and Spring Creek and Elko High School's debate teams. Supporting these organizations has become a priority for mining because of the support that these nonprofit profits provide to our employees' families, as well as for those throughout the state who are in need. As proud Nevada students, it would be wrong not to give a shout out to our man, John Mackey. As a miner, John Mackey provided a financial foundation for the University of Nevada, Reno, with the prosperity that mining provided to him. Pretty much we see that Nevada was founded as a silver state for its mines, and essentially Nevada's mines are what set it apart and allow it to become the state that it is today. Do we really want to taint the industry that has allowed us to persevere with more taxes? Contention 3 deals with the people of Nevada. Currently, more than 10,000 people are directly employed by the Nevada mining industry, predominantly in rural Nevada. Likewise, mining requires an extensive support system. For every mining job, approximately 4 other jobs are created to provide goods and services used by the mining industry. If we look to healthcare, we see that according to the Nevada Mining Association, the mining industry paid its employees more than $230 million in total benefits in 2011 alone. By offering these crucial benefits to employees, mining organizations are ensuring that the state does not need to provide our workers with additional healthcare resources from the general fund. If anything, those that would be affected most by a tax increase are the rural Nevadans whose livelihoods depend on the industry to be able to provide them with jobs and sustenance for their families. Now, going on to my opponent's case. First of all, in contention 1, they try to state that mines are undertaxed, but there's a number of pieces of evidence that are actually contrary to this. If we actually look to an article from the Las Vegas Sun, we saw that from 2009 to 2010, mines were taxed 55% higher. Furthermore, other evidence shows that the average major industry in Nevada pays $6,078 per employee in taxes. Meanwhile, natural resources and metal ore mines pay $24,775 per employee on average. And actually, if we look to metal ore mines particularly, this number actually increases to $33,000 per employee, which is greater than 5 times that of other industries. Clearly, the mines are not undertaxed. Furthermore, moving on to their contention 2, they try to say that we need these tax revenues to be able to provide public services. But the first thing you need to consider here is that right now Nevada is in a large amount of debt, and that debt totals approximately $26 billion. Obviously, this is going to be the state's priority, and so although it would be nice to allocate a lot of funds to public services, obviously this is going to be our priority. Furthermore, if we're actually looking to the upcoming elections, we see that Governor Sandoval, his priority is going to be getting reelected, and so chances are he won't be increasing a lot of spending at this time. And so although this is a nice idea to help fund public services, this is obviously not Nevada's priority in this day and age. Furthermore, moving on to their contention 3, when they're looking to the environment. Now there's one particular piece of evidence I'd like you to consider that my opponent brought up. She said that mines account for 98% of the pollutants released. But the problem with this is that an increased tax does not encourage a change in behavior. An increased tax will be there whether a mine behaves according to environmental standards or not. Furthermore, the majority of these releases are actually from minerals that are pulled from the ground. So the point basically holds that pretty much the only way we'd ever be able to prevent these releases is if we get rid of mining altogether. And clearly we don't want to do that because mining is so beneficial to our state due to the number of jobs that it provides and also the charitable contributions that it makes to our state. So for these reasons, I urge you to look to the world of the negation and that we should not increase taxes on the mines. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mariah. So now that both sides have presented their initial cases, the affirmative team will get their chance to respond. This speech will be given by Corey Nims, one half of the partnership that was ranked 19th out of over 800 different partnerships in the country. Now, Corey Nims is a junior majoring in political science with a minor in communication studies. This is his 7th year debating. Corey is always a positive and goofy force on the team and has a passion for theory behind debate and has been likened to, well, I liken him to the team's teddy bear. In all honesty, Corey is one of the kindest and most easygoing members on the team and is a genuine pleasure to be around. He enjoys video games, cooking, The Walking Dead, and he also wants everyone in this room to know that he is the reigning champion of our team cooking competition, even if it only involved 2 people. So now that we know more about Corey, it's time for him to take over. And Corey, the mic's all yours.
Thank you, Kenneth, for your kind words. I want to echo all the thank yous from my teammates and from everyone who's already spoken to you, but I'm not going to take the time to thank you all again because you already know that we love you, so So we're going to just go ahead and jump right in. So I'm going to start with the discussion of my opponent's case. I want to start looking at the top, their first contention. They start by saying that we have no way of collecting these taxes and that essentially we don't have any of the auditors, any of the people that can actually collect this money. However, there's a few problems with that. Yes, we did used to have a problem with not collecting these taxes. However, you can look to the fact that in 2012, the state did an audit of many of the top mining companies and found that they had underpaid their taxes by $8.7 million, indicating that we have the ability to collect this money in the status quo, but $8.7 million isn't that much. We need to be able to gather more funds to actually be able to pay for things like education, for the roads that we drive on. Additionally, you can look to the fact that many of these new positions, many of these new individuals that would be able to audit are going to be allocated and created in the status quo. You can look to the fact that the state Senate Majority Leader, Stephen Horsford, has been pushing for the creation of a new agency within the Nevada government. That is the Nevada Mining Oversight and Accountability Commission that would look to things like mining taxes to be able to ensure that these taxes are being effectively collected. It means that all of these arguments about how we can't collect this money just are not true. The next argument that they look to is that we hurt investment and that this hurts our economy. But the gold isn't going anywhere, people. It's in the ground. We have those resources. It's not like a mining company can pick up and move to another state. Nevada accounts for 80% of the gold that's being produced within the United States. There's no other place that they can move to. It means that we may hurt their bottom line a little bit if we're going to be increasing taxes, but it's worth it to the overall economy. Being able to diversify our economy with things like education means that these arguments just do not function. But let's look to the next set of arguments that they make here about donations and philanthropic things that mining companies do. And they play up the things that mining companies do, that, oh, they donate all these hours, and I think the number they said was 7,000 volunteer hours. Come on, people. My fraternity, Kappa Sigma, has donated $5,000 and several thousand hours of volunteer work. There's no reason as to why the 7,000 hours that they talk about mean anything to the amount of taxes that they should pay. Additionally, you should look to the fact that mining companies don't actually donate that much. You can look to a study from the Elite Alliance for Mining Taxes or something. We referenced it in our first speech, that showed that mining companies donated only $4.5 million in 2011. That's with an M, not a B. They've donated only $4.5 million when they're making billions of dollars off of our public goods. Is a reason as to why they may be providing a little bit in charitable donations, but not that much. Not enough to say that we shouldn't be taxing them and giving this money to things like education and things that matter to the overall long-term sustainability of our state. This means that you should not be looking to these issues. The next arguments that they make are about the people, the jobs, and the things that are created through the mining industry. We have a couple of responses to this. First, you should look to the fact that we can't rely on mining forever. Yes, it's good for our economy now, it helps, but eventually we're going to run out of gold. And we're going to run out of things like silver, which means that we need to diversify our economy with things like public education, which we can't do right now because we can't pay for our public education. We need to have those taxes. We need to be able to generate that revenue in order to be able to pay for those things, in order to be able to create the next generation of mathematicians and scientists and innovators. We're going to bring those companies to the state of Nevada to be able to actually be sustainable for the long term, be able to really resolve the issues that you talk about. Yes, we will admit that mining jobs do create a lot of money, but there's a significant stratification of the money that you're actually getting, that only a certain number of people are actually getting that money. Yes, the average may be not $100,000. I should really move that. Whatever. The average may be $100,000, but look to the fact that people like the engineers are making some $600,000, as my geological engineer friend Brendan here always reminds me that he's going to make more money than I am. But you should look to the bottom, to the lower level that are only making a fraction of that. So yes, the averages may be high, but it still doesn't matter to the overall economy, and that you should look to the fact that we need to still diversify to really make our economy stronger. But let's look to our case. They make up a bunch of these numbers about how taxes were 55% higher in 2009 to 2010. But you should be looking to our statistics that are more recent that show that the mining industry and some of the largest mines were only charged 1% in taxes for over $1 billion in gross profits. I don't know about you, but 1% on $1 billion, not that much. It may sound like a lot, but it's not that much, especially when we need to look to the fact that that money is being taken out of our state. That of 3 of the 5 largest producing mines are foreign owned and are taking that money out of the state of Nevada. It means that we need to resolve that stratification and keep the money here in the state. Additionally, looking to our arguments about public services, they make this argument about how we have a lot of debt and that's where the money is going to go to. We have a couple of responses. First is that, yes, even if in the short term, the first 5 years, we take some of the money that we make from taxes and we pay down our debt, which is not really a bad thing in the first place. But looking down the road, I'm sorry, I'm not going to have time for your question. Looking down the road, we're going to have a lot more money overall. That we would still be able to put that money towards things like social services and education, which is going to be the absolute necessity. So consider the fact that we need to be able to pay for things in the future, we need to be able to pay for education, and that none of the arguments that they have given you are legitimate reasons for why you should refuse an increase on taxes on mining. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Corey. Now, because of the advantage the affirmative team gets for speaking first and last in the debate, we're going to have what we call the block. I'll be honest, when I first heard of the block, I thought we would get like this break in the middle of the debate to have like Lego time or, I don't know, like pick up games of mini basketball, because like clearly I'm really good at basketball with my stature and intimidating presence. Anyway, yeah, thank you. Turns out I'm just short, we don't get time for Legos, and there's no basketballs in debate. We just have the negative team speak twice. I know if you're as devastated as I was, don't worry. We have the second-ranked team in the country, or the partnership in the country, presenting the block for you guys tonight. The dynamic duo of Jonathan McGuire and Kelly Bro. So we'll start with Jonathan first, because he's giving the first speech. He will give the team's negative rebuttal. He's a junior here at the university, who is majoring in political science and working on a minor in communication studies. This is his 8th year of debate, making him the eldest one on the team, much older than me. John is an avid fan of music and frequently finds himself wishing he was Macklemore so he could pull off the fur coat look. Instead, he settles for being our expert at dancing without really knowing what rhythm is. But we love him nonetheless, and we appreciate John here at what he insists on us calling the University of Nevada. So, John, the floor is yours.
I would also like to echo the round of thank yous that have been given. This is actually my last competitive debate, so I wanted to thank all of you for being here to share this experience with me, and I hope you've enjoyed yourselves, and I hope that the rebuttals get even more entertaining for you. Let's go ahead and begin. I see this debate coming down fundamentally to 3 issues. The first of those being the people that are actually affected by mining. These are both the individuals that are affected by mining's philanthropic benefits, but also the individuals who are directly affected, the individuals who work in mining that we're discussing. Our opponents try and say, well, the individuals, they don't contribute that much. Yes, some fraternities contribute more volunteer hours than these organizations do. That's fine. That's not our argument, and you're missing the broader one. We said that you need to call out and specifically highlight John Mackey's contributions to this university. Many of you are students here and or alumni of this university, and I feel as though we would be extremely remiss to overlook the massive contributions that mining has made to this university as well as the Nevada system of higher education. They are much larger than any other thing that could happen. Another argument they make on this sheet of paper, which I would like to address now, is calling these minerals that are coming out of the ground our public goods. I find this extremely difficult to believe. I don't know how any of us can claim ownership over a good that's buried underneath the ground unless you own the rights to that minerals the way that these mines are required to buy them. The taxes that you're trying to discuss are on gross proceeds. They are not actually on the total production cost, which is what we should be looking to. Mines spend millions, if not billions of dollars just trying to dedicate and actually get these resources out of the ground. None of those dollars are things that you are accounting for when you're creating these percentage tax figures that you're trying to forward into this debate. The next thing that I'd like to talk about is the people that are actually affected by this. They say that we can't rely on mining forever. That's probably true. We also can't live on the earth forever, but that's probably not a reason to start increasing taxes on it right now. Moreover, you say education must come first. Yes, then we know we love Milton Glick very much, but the argument here is that we've been having these taxes of mining since the state's inception, and our education is still underfunded. We are still underfunding these things, and we've had taxes for the entirety of the fact that mining's been existing. So the 1% increase that you all are advocating is not going to be a magical fix for all education in the system of Nevada. It simply does not work that way, as much as I would like it to. The next contention that I would like to discuss, or the next issue I believe this debate surrounds, is the economy and the issue of taxation. We made the argument that taxes aren't really effective for two main reasons. First, the state is not effective at implementing them, and second, it drives new businesses away. They said some arguments about auditors in the first one. We'll concede. Maybe the state of Nevada has gotten better. But the second position they drastically undercovered. They said that gold can't move. This is their argument, right? That the gold is still going to be in the ground. That's wonderful, but there are several other places for companies to go where they could go and get different gold. Because we're fourth, so you have, I don't know, South Africa, Chile, what else did I write down? Indonesia, Ghana, all of the other wonderful places that you could go and somehow procure some of these resources out of the ground. Oh, I'm sorry, I won't have time for you. The next issue that I would like to discuss is Dobra and his specific analysis of the way that mining contributes to this state. The way that it contributes in the best way that I believe is possible is the actual contributions that it makes to our economy. In a study that Professor Dobra did, he's a University of Nevada economics professor, by the way, he did a study of the broader benefits of mining, and he said that it created 14,300 jobs in goods and services in 2011 alone, and generated $7.8 billion in direct and indirect investment into our economy. Would we really want to ruin these types of successes with excessive taxation on this state's #1 leading revenue generating system? I certainly don't think so. They have these wonderful claims about education, yet they forget that, and this is on their education contention, I apologize, they forget that we have a $26 billion debt. I don't think a 1% increase in mining, which I think we've said is somewhere between 400 million and something like that. I'm really bad at math, but I'm sure you all are better than I am, and you know that this problem does not go away in 5 years. That means that at absolute best, we increase taxes 1% now. We don't see the benefit for 5, 10, 15 years down the road because we simply do not actually have the resources to increase these type of taxation issues. Now let's move on to the thing that I think you all actually came to see today, and that is a debate about the environment. The rebuttal is going to get up here and say, we simply cannot afford to continue mining. And that might very well be a wonderful argument. However, we think that you can continue to taxing mining at its current rate, and our environment will be able to sustain that for a couple of reasons. First, when you increase taxes, you incentivize mining companies to cut corners. This is in several different areas, like environmental regulations. So they do things that are necessarily dirtier because they can't afford compliance. The second would be that they would decrease their health care as well as the wages for the workers that live there. And we've already shown you that the rural economies are what are directly dependent upon this. And third, it would be a decrease in overall economic progress. Companies do not want to come here. They will choose to go to other countries that have much less taxes and much less regulations in other areas. The next argument is that government regulations would check back almost the entirety of what you were discussing. Nevada's Division of Environmental Protection has an agency that you're trying to refer to. It's already been in existence. It's called the Bureau of Mining Regulation and Reclamation, or the BMRR. They are currently regulating all forms of environment or resource extraction from the ground in the state of Nevada. That's why we've heard of these pit mine violations that they're talking about, because the regulations are in existence. I think we need to be realistic about the mining's effect on the environment. Since the state's inception, mining has occurred. And our environment may have taken some small hits. However, the benefits that we have gained from mining overall are much larger than any economic or any environmental cost that we have seen in the short term. They're going to get up here and they're going to say, oh, the air will be so polluted. The air is going to be polluted anyways if mining occurs whatsoever, meaning that those arguments just are not unique to any form of taxing, and I don't know why increasing taxes stops them from getting them out of the ground. Also, we live in the driest state in the union. If they try and go for these water arguments, just gut check those for me, please. Thank you all very much.
All right, thank you, John. Now we continue on with the block. Again, I'm still a little disappointed. Nonetheless, with Kelly Brill as our LOR, the Leader of Opposition's Rebuttal. Kelly is the heart and soul of this team in front of you today, and I'm proud to say she is the best female debater in the country. And you could easily make and win the argument that she is the best debater in the country. Now, Kelly is a junior majoring in political science with a minor in Spanish. This is her 7th year debating. And she is the closest we've ever actually come to having Beyonce around us.
We forgot the Grand Crossfire.
Oh, okay. Does that happen right now? Well, this is awkward. We're still gonna appreciate Kelly. Nonetheless, we're gonna have the Grand Crossfire right now. Yeah, I know. Not like I do this. Anyway. So, with that, we're gonna have 3 minutes in which the two teams can have the opportunity to ask those questions that weren't answered previously. And I'll be back in a bit. So, Grand Crossfire.
You guys all good? As first speaker, I believe you have the first question.
Okay. I have a question. So you made these arguments about how Nevada is only 4th in gold production, all these companies could just relocate to other countries. So my question for you is that wouldn't it be really expensive for these companies to relocate to other states or to other countries? Probably wouldn't it be more expensive than the taxes that they would pay?
Actually, Corey, as I believe your team originally articulated, 4 out of 5 of the largest mining companies in Nevada are already foreign companies, so clearly they don't mind relocating to other countries in order to make a profit.
But moreover, we argue that the consistency in the level of taxes would also be extremely damning for them. If the taxes become volatile, they will not have confidence in their investments in Nevada, and will have no problem seeing potential losses down the road, pulling out those investments now. I actually had a question for you, Evelyn. In your first speech, you detailed to us how we could increase this wonderful picture of education in Nevada. I was wondering the last time Governor Sandoval increased funding for education in Nevada.
Well, this is coming directly, the quote that quote that I said that this isn't going to be a job killing is directly from the president of the Nevada Education Association. The Nevada State Education Association. Right now, although Governor Sandoval, you're trying to run this politics scenario that Governor Sandoval isn't going to want to increase spending because it's going to look bad on the re-election. However, when we focus on the main issue, regardless of the re-election, we see that education right now is being underfunded. We see when we're placed 49th out of 50 in funding, 49 out of 50 in achievement, and you put 2 and 2 together, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out that, increased funding, maybe could increase achievements. Maybe if we try, you're going to see that, increasing spending, although Governor Sandoval's term has been short, we can see that in the future this is going to be a very wise decision for our progression as a state of Nevada.
So John, you talk a lot about how we need to look to John Mackey's model where he donates some money, right? But we haven't seen a lot of that recently, right? Like $5 million. So my real question is like, how long has John Mackey been dead, and how long do we have to wait for that to pass to figure out we need more money for our schools?
Okay, so I think the first thing that we need to examine is, yes, that individual family may be dead, but the contributions that mining makes to this individual university and the Nevada system of higher education are far from over.
In fact, I believe it was Dr. Dickens who told us that 35% of our university's funding comes from mining contributions, indicating that that's a pretty large chunk of our funding.
Actually, if I heard him correctly, he said that we lost 35% of our general fund after the economic decline, and not that 35% of our money comes directly from mining operations.
There's no reason to say that that wouldn't be able to be recovered and still given to the university.
So I have to be honest with everyone. When Kelly came up and talked to me, she was just reminding me that she still won't give me your autograph. A little disappointed. Nonetheless, as I was saying earlier, Kelly is a junior majoring in political science with a minor in Spanish. It's her 7th year of debate. She is the queen of the team. She has a passion for Pinterest, all things fabulous, and decimating all competition in her way. That's why she's the best debater in the country. That being said, Kelly Bro with the LOR.
Okay, so before I begin, obviously I want to thank my team, but more importantly, and something that I don't think we've talked about necessarily yet, is I want to thank all of you for being here, because really as a team we could not exist without this university, and most of you are a part of the university, so you do play a role in our success and our existence. So thank you. With that, let's begin. This debate is pretty simple when you look at it the right way. First, we need to understand that mining is a prior question to education. You can look to the fact that John Mackey is the one who helped found our university, indicating that mining was a strong industry before education occurred, but it also led the path to higher education within Nevada. Additionally, mines donate money to schools, but they also just contribute to schools in the way that they create jobs for students to go into afterwards, particularly in Nevada, but additionally, they allow for us to get good educations. The second is that let's not forget that mines have existed since Nevada's inception, as we've repeatedly told you, and so has a tax on mining. So for the affirmative team to assert that a 1% increase in mining or in taxation on mines is somehow going to fix the fact that we are the 49th or 50th state in education is just asinine. It will not happen. So instead, you should prefer the world of the negative team, because we are getting adequate taxation out of these mines, but even further, those mines are donating to us. We would not want to do anything that would disincentivize that type of help from these mines and the type of support that this industry has given our university, but even further than that, our state. Additionally, you also need to consider the people whose lives would be affected. Our third contention particularly talks about rural people and also the employees of these mining companies who receive millions of dollars in health benefits, and not to mention their salaries from these companies. Let's go to the affirmative team's case. Their first contention is that mining is largely undertaxed. This is a very simple question. They have been advocating for a 1% increase in the tax rate. They've told us that in the status quo, we only tax 1% of 1 billion. So the affirmative's going to tax 2% of 1 billion? I ask you to seriously question how that solves any of the problems that they bring up. The second argument from the affirmative team is that taxing helps fund public services. Our first argument is that asserting that somehow these funds would go to education first and solely is kind of a crystal ball prediction. Our argumentation is that first it would go to the deficit and padding the budget, but secondly, there's no guarantee that it would go towards education, or even if you do buy that it'll go to education, higher education for that matter. So it's better to be able to incentivize these industries to stay in Nevada and keep donating to us so that we will be able to continue these things. Their third contention is about the environmental costs. This is also a very simple question because the only way that you will ever stop these environmental impacts is if you stop mining, which is A, not going to happen, and B, would be completely detrimental to the state of Nevada itself, which means that you have to look to all of Jonathan's really great reasons why we can continue to tax at the current level and still maintain our environment. You can look to the fact that the BMRR, can't remember that acronym, but it exists, is regulating resource extraction within the status quo, indicating that all of these things would be checked back. Now onto our case. Our first contention is about how increasing taxes does not necessarily lead to effective taxation. They say that people were, or that mining industries were undertaxed by $8.7 million, and then they go on to say that Stephen Horsford has created an oversight committee. Great. Then why do we need an increase in tax rates? All this means is that those $8.7 million would be able to be recovered by this oversight committee. So that makes up for the lack of taxation right there, because we have those $8.7 million if these problems are being fixed in the status quo, meaning that there is absolutely no need for an increase in taxation. Our second argument is that these organizations are philanthropic, but more particularly that they are the backbone of the state in that they have provided us with our higher educations. They are the ones who founded these institutions. I ask that you remember that when you write down your vote tonight. The last argument is about the people of Nevada. They receive $230 million in health benefits. Rural Nevadans rely on mining. You can look to all of Jonathan's analysis from John Dober, which says that there are broad benefits from these companies, and that there were $14,000 per each person in 2011 alone. Remember these statistics when you go to cast your vote. It's three simple issues: education, taxation, and not increasing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. So, giving the final speech tonight will be Jacob Christensen. He will present the affirmative's final thoughts on the debate and the reasons why he thinks you should vote for them. But before he starts, let's talk about the second half of the 19th ranked partnership in the country. Jacob is a junior, majoring in mechanical engineering. It's his 6th year participating in debate. He enjoys biking, most things cars, and all things fashionable. His favorite show is How It's Made, and I regularly challenge him to make some cool stuff and be all mechanical engineering-y, but he tends to let me down. So, in the interest of full disclosure. Anyway, he was also recently elected as a senator for the College of Engineering, but refuses to appoint me as his chief of staff. He says, the first reason he gives me is that apparently I don't have enough Nevada crushes to be competitive. I would like lose political capital. The second one is they don't have those, but I don't believe either. So anyway, nonetheless, here he is to give the final speech of this evening and the final affirmative thoughts on the debate.
So I know that everyone before me has taken the opportunity to thank y'all for being here, but I just want to do it one more time. There are some faces that I'm seeing for a second time, which just for the record means that you have now watched me debate more times than my parents have. So that's pretty cool of y'all to be here and support us like this. We really can't be here without the community behind us, so thank you so much for that. And without further ado, let's find out why my opponents are going home crying. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about is this whole idea of the 1% tax. Like, okay, I get it, Jonathan's pretty bad at math, but I swear we never said that in any of our speeches. That was Jonathan's idea. So if that's a bad idea, then I'm sorry, bud, you need to go home and work on your tax policy. But let's talk about the actual issues, the reasons why the affirmative team is going to be winning the debate today. The first thing that we need to talk about are the schools. And there's something that I want to look to. There's a quote by Milt Glick, one of the most recent considerable donors to the University of Nevada. He's got the ballrooms up in the Joe Crowley Student Union named after him. And he says that the future of Nevada is not in the mines and the lode stocks of the land, but in the minds of future generations. We're not going to be able to mine our way into economic prosperity forever, but we will be able to think our way into it by creative innovation. The only way that we're ever going to be able to do that is by having a competitive education system. What we see right now is that our education system is failing as a result of underfunding by the state government. The state government isn't doing this because they don't like us. They're pretty fond of us. We're pretty cool. We're one of the coolest things happening in Nevada right now. The reason they're not doing this is because they don't have the money to give to us. The only way that we can solve that is to find some way to rectify the amount of money that the state government is taking in right now. So what we see is that the only way that we can actually provide for the future of Nevada beyond just extracting minerals from the ground is to provide for the extraction of ideas from the people of Nevada. The only way we can do this is through better developing our educational system, and mining taxes are going to be key to actually implementing this. The second issue that I want to talk about is about this idea that my opponents have that mines are going to leave. Let's just look to some of the numbers that Evelyn brought up in her first speech. One of the most important ones that I want to look to. The largest mine in the state of Nevada earned $1 billion of profit in 1 year. Taxing a couple percent off that $1 billion still leaves over $900 million to take home. I don't know about you, but a $900 million paycheck probably means I'm going to stay in business. That sounds pretty sweet. These mines aren't about to pick up and leave. My opponents would have you believe that they're just going to shift to other countries where they can mine, but they also read the argument that these companies are already spending billions of dollars in investment to develop the mines that they're in right now and to guarantee that they have the mineral rights that they need into the future. When you invest billions of dollars, you don't walk away from that over a couple $1 million lower profit. These companies aren't going to leave. They're going to continue to earn millions of dollars. They're going to continue to be some of the wealthiest people in the state of Nevada, and there's absolutely no reason why they would abandon that prospect over the thought of losing out on a few $1 million that they had the year before. The next issue that I want to talk about is the people of Nevada, something that my opponents have decided to make a very large deal. They talk very specifically about these few thousand rural people who rely on the mines. This only works if the mines are leaving. It's only a concern to tax mining if the mines are so close to being unsolvent right now, if they're barely making any money, that they would have to cut profits, or that when they lost profits, they would have to cut payment to their employees. But when they're already taking home $1 billion, it's not very likely that they're going to make their employees leave by reducing their pay. As was pointed out earlier, Brendan's going to be making like $600,000 a year as a geological engineer. If those opportunities exist elsewhere, the mines are going to realize that if they start to cut those salaries, these employees are going to be smart enough, like they were to get into geological engineering, to get up and go to places like Chile where they won't have to live in Nevada away from the ocean. They can live near the mines and then go to the beach at night. Like, these people are going to be able to just walk up and leave, and they're probably the people who will leave before the mining companies will. Because there is so much profit in this, we never need to worry about these companies leaving. What this comes down to today is that there is an entire industry that is built on the back of Nevada, that they have been extracting resources from the state of Nevada for very little payback to the people. These companies have come to a point where in order for this state to continue to be as great as it has been in the past, we need to see this change. These companies need to start paying back into the state that they have built their empires upon. The only way that we see these companies existing into the future and the state of Nevada continuing to be as great as it has been in the past is through taxation of these mining corporations. And that is why the affirmative team deserves to win the debate today, that mining taxes ought to be increased in the state of Nevada. Thank you.
It was a close one, not as close as our last one, but still pretty close. 45 votes for the affirmative and 37 for the negative. So the affirmative team wins this year's spring public debate.